When I got up to lead the meditation this morning, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm sorry. I am Reverend Rudra Dundzila. I am your contract minister, and my pronouns are he, his, him. And I have all my props here. Mask, cane, and you'll see what I use them for. In the 1980s, when I was in grad school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, good, no booze, I was a congregant at St. Paul's Catholic Student Ministry, and they were located in a modernist, brutalist style, all cement, no windows, building from 1968 with stadium-style seating and great interior acoustics. But it also had stairs everywhere. Stairs to get into the building, stairs to get into the sanctuary, stairs in the sanctuary to get to each row, stairs to the chancel with the pulpit and altar. The bathrooms were small, hidden and nooks and crannies, also located at the tops of stairs. The outside doors were big and heavy. You know how some church have those just really huge doors and you needed a lot of muscle to be able to swing them open because they did not swing easily. The building, simply put, was inaccessible. People with a cast, or a baby stroller, or people with crutches, or a walker, or a cane had a hard time getting in and out of the building, and especially up and down all those stairs. Forget about people in wheelchairs. Many Jewish temples have a prominent sign by their entrance with a quote from the scroll of the prophet Isaiah, "My house shall be a house of prayer for all peoples." That house of prayer was not built for all peoples. By the 1980s, when I was there, the community realized that it had an accessibility problem. They needed to retrofit the building, and that would cost them a lot of money that they didn't have. So, to save money, some well-meaning but misguided individuals suggested that they could organize groups of men to carry congregants up and down the stairs, in and out of the bathrooms, and to and from their seats if they're not able to manage the stairs. You get the problem with the suggestion. After my mom's stroke, we had to carry my mom in her wheelchair up and down my stepbrother Darius's front stairs that following Thanksgiving. It was the most scary thing that me and my stepbrother and stepfather had to do for her. And that was the last time that she visited his house because there was no easy way for her to get in and out of that house. Another story. Susan Senator shares her son Nat's story widely about disability access. Nat is diagnosed on the autism spectrum. He's intellectually gifted in some areas, but can't manage unpredictable routines or unexpected social situations well. He's competed and won in the Special Olympics. In high school, his IEP, Individualized Education Plan, focused more on pragmatic life skills rather than academic achievements. Families with differently able children call this the "I can identify Saturn, but I can't brush my teeth" scenario. Instead of teaching him for standardized testing, he was learning independent living skills like appropriate work behavior, self-care routines, how to travel around town, things like personal safety and self-advocacy skills. Oops. I use the term differently abled. The disability community has varying opinions about terminology. Some prefer to use identity-first terms like disabled person. Others prefer person-first terms like person with disabilities. Some simply prefer differently abled or ADA compliant as appropriate. Just like we use pronouns to help identify our gender identities, I would encourage everyone to ask people about how they would prefer to be referred to regarding their disabilities. When Nat graduated from high school, he moved into a residential school because his family could not meet his adult support needs anymore. When he aged out at 22, he was very lucky to move into a nearby adult residential community. Nat shares a group home with 6 other men. Each has their own bedroom and bathroom. Nat helps with meal prep, does his laundry, cleans his room, assists with household chores, and has a part-time job in the community nearby. Federal ADA funding paid for much of these services until the billionaire bootlicking bill cut much of that funding. I would rather have my taxes pay for housing fellow Americans than for wars in Israeli-occupied Palestine, Lebanon, or Iran. That's where we should be spending our tax dollars on. So let's take a brief moment to explore our own building, at least in your mind's eyes. There are index cards all over the room, and I made sure there were cards and pens in every single aisle. Pick up an index card, pick up a pen, and on one side, please write down a great big plus sign with some plus, some way that our building, our community is accessible. On the other side of the card, write a minus sign and indicate something that we can do to improve accessibility for our building and our community. And I'm going to talk a little bit, and then we'll collect the cards in a second. Thank you. We most often notice people with physical disabilities, but there are many people in our CUB community who live with hidden disabilities and outside of our CUB community. Some have shared with me that they have ADHD, adult hyperactivity disorder, or some people are on the autism spectrum in our community. Cancer and heart disease and other illnesses create their own disabilities. And we all know people in our lives who live with dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Being accessible to all means being accessible to people with all of their abilities and disabilities. The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990 and signed into law on July 26th by President George H.W. Bush. Hence, July is now Disability Pride Month with its own flag, and you can see a black and white version of that flag on the cover of our OOS. So these are what the colors are supposed to be on that flag. The diagonal band across the flag indicates the walls and barriers that separate disabled people from society. Charcoal gray symbolizes mourning and rage for victims of ableist violence, neglect, and eugenics. Red represents physical disabilities. Gold represents cognitive, intellectual disabilities and neurodivergence. White means invisible and diagnosed disabilities. Blue indicates psychiatric and mental health disabilities. And green is for sensory disabilities, deafness, blindness. So let's see what we came up with our cards.
Here's some of them. We're still working on more.
That's fine. Thank you. Plus, multiple ramps. Plus, good. Plus, entry options, wide aisles. Plus, 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 rails in restrooms and ramps. Ramps from outside to access the main, lower level access via the parking lot. Plus, great space accessibility. Plus, ramps, front and back, bathrooms on accessible floor, special chairs near doors with arms to help with standing up. Our building is pretty good, I think. Okay, thank you. Plus, handicapped accessible entries. Plus, main front door ramp. I'm going to stop repeating the ones that we've already read. Plus, my husband was legally blind. In spite of that, he received an excellent education. Plus, accessible at front of building. Can you open front door with a button? Can you get downstairs inside without going outside? Plus, ramp in front. Plus, accessible to all faiths. Handicap parking and access into the building on sanctuary floor, and same for restrooms. Plus, ramp into building, we've mentioned that. Plus, large bathrooms that are gender neutral. Plus, ramped bathrooms, handicap parking. And now on to some of the negatives that we came up with. Access from downstairs to upstairs in the building. Stairs. Stairs from closest parking lot going to the driveway. No elevator in the building. All the chairs the same size. No way to get up and downstairs. We need to keep the back door open during activities to be more near the handicap spaces, parking spaces. Long term, maybe install an elevator. Pull doors to automatic. The basement is inaccessible to people with leg problems. No elevator. No way to sign. I'm sorry, I can't read the writing. Stairs, no elevator, but separate entrance. Ooh, negative for hearing impaired. Some speakers don't use the mics correctly. I keep hearing that from people about sound issues during service, and I sort of expected a lot of things about sound during services. Ramp up driveway, stairs to entrance is challenging to come in with a cane. Last negative, steep inclines. Oh well. So why are we doing this? Taking accessibility inventory helps us to reflect how our building helps and hinders people with accessibility. And that also reflects on our community. It's not just the building. As Unitarian Universalists, we want to be inclusive, loving people who welcome everybody into our space so that we could create the beloved community here in our midst and bring it to the outside world. But when our building is limited, our community is also limited about that. So you heard in the reading about how Congress carved out a huge exception for places of worship in the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. We're specifically exempt. We, places of worship, religious organizations, are specifically exempt from public accommodations and architectural accessibility requirements. Who did this? The evangelicals. They are the sole Christian group that vehemently advocated and protested against the Americans with Disabilities Act. They claimed that it would violate their First Amendment religious freedoms and separation of church and state. I have a question for you. What happened to those concerns, to those rights when it comes to women's reproductive justice or transgender bodily autonomy rights? Evangelicals also opposed the ADA because it classified people living with HIV/AIDS as protected individuals. And that is just plain evangelical homophobia, nothing more. Let's remember that HIV/AIDS is not a gay disease. Globally, just about half, 51%, of all people living with HIV are women and girls, underaged girls. And nearly 2/3, 65%, of everyone living with HIV were infected heterosexually. I find this ironic. Evangelicals claim to be biblical literalists, but they reject the biblical teaching that my house shall be a house of prayer for all peoples. They prefer exclusion and discrimination instead. At this point, I'm not expecting to get any amen alleluias. As Unitarian Universalists, we choose to willingly follow the Americans with Disabilities Act and similar guidelines because we are the love people. We believe that every single person has a right to flourish with inherent worthiness and dignity, no matter who they are, no matter what your disability is, hidden or unhidden. All people are welcome to be fully inclusive and participatory members of our religious communities and society at large, without exclusion, without discrimination. All of us, we all belong to one human species. We are all descended from the hominid proverbially named Lucy, a chimpanzee who stood aright and walked bipedalism, walked upright without using her hands. We're one family with a diversity of cultures and languages and religions, but also differing abilities. Many of us have to wear glasses to see clearly. Many of us need hearing aids to help us to hear. Many of us need a cane to walk around. And I was greatly reminded of this during the summer of 2023 after I had twisted my knee, and I spent most of the summer with a cane helping me get around as that already damaged knee had to heal over and over again. And if we don't need such devices right now to help us, as our bodies age, as we progress through our lives, we will eventually encounter some sort of disability and need some sort of assistance to get in and out of doors or in and out of cars or in and out of bathtubs or bathrooms or whatever. Mick Atencio, the author of our reading, reminds us the question is not, will I ever be disabled? But the question really is, when will I become disabled and how? So when we talk about disability access, when we talk about becoming an inclusive community, we're talking about inviting all people, including ourselves and others who are facing all sorts of challenges in life simply because of what their physical or mental bodies can or cannot do in a moment in time. And we can help each other out overcome those obstacles in life. In response, we as Unitarian Universalists reject exclusion and discrimination. We stand for inclusion, for helping everyone become a full and living part of our world community and our religious communities. We use our time, our wisdom, our attention, and our money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities, beginning with ourselves here at Cub and us as an example to the larger Brighton, the larger Livingston County community. We seek to offer radical hospitality in our congregations. We welcome the stranger, we welcome the immigrant, we welcome widows and orphans, and we welcome children. Children too are part of our community. Cub was founded to provide a progressive religious education, spiritual exploration program to our children in this community. That's part of our core being, who we are here as Cubbies. We welcome people of all abilities. And we try to offer an extravagant welcome to all people who are on the margins. And by doing these things, this is how we become good people. This is what a good person does. That's who we're trying to be. We're essentially trying to be good people. And we're trying to create a beloved community where all are welcome and all can actively participate in whatever's going on in their lives.